Alright, in this video I'd like to talk a little bit about how you can change both the volume and the equalization settings in your track very quickly. In another video we're going to talk about some of the more advanced applications of this, but the very first thing we're going to do is come up to Effect, and I'm going to click on what's called Amplify. Now, you need to be aware of your sound source, how loud it is, and what you want to try and avoid is anything over 0. Digital 0 in a digital platform, anything that goes above that, so the very top portions are what we call the transients of these waveforms, both on the positive or in this case the left and the right channel. If any of those go above 0 for a sustained period of time, you're going to have either distortion or clipping. And while that can be a really neat creative effect, and if little portions of the transient go above, that's okay. But if the entire track goes above 0, you're going to have a really unwanted sort of distortion sound for most purposes. So it's a little counterintuitive in the sense that you want to move this to the left if you want to actually reduce just the overall volume of your track. So if you notice, I moved it over about 3.6 dB from 0, which basically means that we are applying a cut or a reduction of about 3.6 decibels or minus 3.6, which means that our peak is actually the loudest this is going to be is at minus 4.3. So if I play that back, and you can even see it on the waveform, it's a lot softer. Now, if you have a very soft track, if the initial recording is very light, then you can do the opposite. You can come over here to the right and increase the volume as you need to. Now, the one thing you need to be aware of is that if you have a soft track, when you add volume or amplitude, you're actually introducing noise as well. So in this case, it won't even let me do it unless I hit the allow clipping parameter. And then if you notice, the track is just really distorted. I mean, all of these are sort of cut off. It's a little bit of overkill. So you can amplify the track if it's soft to begin with. There are a number of ways to do that. You can do what's called normalizing, but this is just a very simple way that you can adjust the volume parameters. So I'm going to come up here to Effect, and I'm going to use an option called Bass and Treble. Now, the very cool thing about bass and treble is that it's a lot like your home stereo system. So I'll usually put these just at the very beginning at about 0. And you can imagine, just like your car stereo or a very simple little boombox at home, we are adjusting the frequency range. So the lows, mids, and highs really encompass all of the frequency ranges that we have. If I cut the treble significantly, you get that AM radio sort of sound. If I come up here to bass and treble, I'm going to do the opposite now. I'm going to bring this back to, about 0. And if I cut the bass significantly, and let's say I increase the treble, not only will you see the waveform change visually, when you listen to it, it will have a much different character. So in this case, the sound is a little bit more of a brittle, piercing kind of sound, and that could be what you want. It may be that your sound source was a little dull and you just want the overall track to speak a little better. This is a way that you can do that. So I'm going to go ahead and undo my equalization settings. But the two that you may find quite useful are to come up here to amplify and bass and treble. And those will get you up and running when you're mixing. And I hope you find this useful.